Hello everyone and welcome back to Powerful Nothing, a Magic the Gathering Cube podcast. I'm your host Dan, better known on the internet as Too Sweet MTG, and as always, I'm joined by my co-host James. How's it going, dude? You well?
I'm well. Yeah, excited to talk about new Magic cards. We've not done a set review in a while, actually.
No, it's been at least two episodes, James. What's going on?
Yeah, I'm in crisis about the whole thing.
Awesome. Well, today we have our cube set review for Magic the Gathering Foundations. This is the most recent set that has just come out, but on top of that, we're also going to be reviewing some of the Mystery Booster 2 playtest cards that have also just recently been printed. If you're unaware, these are specifically cards that are printed in the Mystery Booster 2 product.
Yeah, so I think they maybe say these are like, a little bit goofy, a little bit outside of a standard things they'll print on a Magic card, but could be a pretty fun inclusion depending on the type of cube you're building.
There's a whole bunch of these playtest cards in the Mystery Booster 2 product. The ones we're going to be talking about today are the ones that we think can actually make an impact in Cube. Some of them, there won't be proper rules text for them, but you can work out how the cards work just by common sense. Some of these playtest cards are cards that they can't program onto Arena, but as adults, as human beings, we can make sure, like we know how they work, basically.
Yeah, for sure. I think they won't be for everyone's cube. Some people want to keep their cubes entirely, quote unquote, real Magic cards. But I think there's some really fun ones in there. And if it's something you're inclined to do, I think there are some interesting ones that could slot into some cubes.
Before we jump into that, the quickest bit of news first. We're fast approaching the end of the year, which means it's almost time for the most magical night of the year, our annual end-of-year awards, the Golden MTGs. We'll put a link down to the voting form in the show notes below. We're looking for your input on the big categories. We're talking Set of the Year, Card of the Year, Best New Mechanic, and the biggest one of all, Pet of the Year. So do make sure you fill that in, helps us out. We want to hear from the Academy. That is all of you lot. Please fill it in, helps us out. Right, let's talk about Magic Foundations. So I'm going to be honest with everyone. I was not expecting to do a cube set review for the set because I thought it was very much going to be, here are some reprints, they're legal and standard for 5 years. But no, this is basically the 6th full set of the year if you include Modern Horizons. And there are a bunch of cool and interesting cards for us to talk about today. I also didn't actually realize until someone posted in our Discord that tickets had gone on sale, but there was also a pre-release for this set. Which unfortunately I was not able to attend, but James was, and as someone who loves a pre-release, I do want to know how it went. So, James, talk to me, as someone who's played the set, what was your initial impressions of Foundations, how it plays, and kind of like the overall vibe of what's going on?
Yeah, it was a ton of fun, actually. The set feels kind of like a little bit retro to me in some ways. I think it's just in that so I think because obviously Magic cards have got more and more complex in the last sort of 5 years, and generally they're going for the core set vibe here, which is slightly less complex. But a core set today, I think, is just like the level of complexity of a regular expert level set of 5 years ago. I think there are still some powerful cards, but it's less of the wall of text vibe on every rare and mythic, and I think that's quite good. The limited experience was pretty good. I think the sealed format actually felt interesting in a way which sealed formats haven't really to me recently. I think it's just slightly less rare dominated in this set, and the removal is quite good. Which is certainly a nice for that format. Because honestly, the last few sets, I think we've had some good draft sets, but sealed has not felt great. My experience was I went 3-0. I opened a pretty interesting pool. I had all the blue-red spells build around, like every single one. I had Balmor. I had there's a 6 mana enchantment in red where whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, you make a 5/5 flyer. That was sick.
I like that card. Yeah.
I had this blue giant dude who draws you cards and when you cast spells and makes your spells cheaper. I had a 1,000-Year Storm, which looks like I didn't actually end up running that. That one feels like maybe a little bit too much for sealed.
Okay,
I didn't really have enough good spells to make these work, but I decided to commit anyway and make the best of it. So I played sort of Jeskai spells. I didn't have quite enough instants and sorceries in straight blue and red. Deck played really well. Was able to get there in all 3 rounds. I think, it feels quite corsetty in that the removal is good, but you're probably meant to save it for their actually impactful creatures and try and sort of trade creatures where you can, then save your premium removal spells for the threats that only they can answer. But yeah, and there are some good old school threats in the set. There's you can cast Sarah Angel, you can cast Shivan Dragon.
Really? I didn't know that was in the set. Okay, that's it.
Yeah,
okay.
it's an uncommon now.
Oh, really? Okay, that kind of tracks. Well, yeah, I guess that's a
sign of the times, isn't it?
Well. Also, peasant cube enthusiast. There you go. There's a nice downgrade for you.
Oh, that's true. Maybe we should have put it in the set review because it's new to peasant cube.
I mean, I'm not gonna. For peace and love, reviewing Shivan Dragon seems like a card that's been about for over 30 years. It's like, I think this card's all right.
Do we have hot new takes on Shivan Dragon?
Exactly.
That's the question. But yeah, no, pre-release was a lot of fun actually. I think the set plays well. Some like nice, clean designs.
No, awesome. Yeah, hopefully I'll get to give it a go at some point. Like from the game, like I watched a bit of the pre-release that Loading Ready Run to, and I think the first 4 games all ended with someone casting an overrun. I
do
like
that tracks.
I do like that kind of magic. So yeah, good to see overrun still killing people in 2024.
Yeah, for sure. That card I think has aged pretty well, actually.
Awesome. So before we jump into the set review, let's quickly talk about how we're going to be reviewing the cards today. So first and foremost, when we talk about cards, we are comparing every card in the set to every card that has ever come before it. If we don't mention a card, that doesn't mean it's bad and you shouldn't run it. It's just that we don't think it's going to find a place in the majority of cubes out there. In terms of those cubes, it's probably worth us breaking down how we're going to be talking about cards and, importantly, the types of cubes out there. When we talk about cubes, it's mainly in terms of things like power level, restrictions, and size. For power level, we're basically trying to describe the pool of cards the rest of the cube is picked from. So an entry-level cube we often describe as low-powered or budget. There's a lot of cool cards that you might run, but generally they're looking for fun games rather than doing broken things really quickly. Think of these somewhere between a regular set draft and a master set in terms of power level. You then have your mid-powered cubes. The games are getting a little faster, there's better fixing. You're starting to see more staple cards from a lot of formats. You're going to see things like Lightning Bolt, Counterspell, and maybe some fetch lands, things like that. Previously, these might have been known as standard, modern, or legacy cubes. You then have your really high-powered cubes. They're generally environments that are optimized to run the best cards possible. The games are powerful and the decks need to be more focused, and you have to be doing a thing. Also, in terms of speed in these more powerful cubes, if you land go for 3 turns, you've probably lost the game. The best example of a high-powered cube is probably like the Mitgo Vintage Cube or the Modo Vintage Cube that is generally widely known by a large number of people. When it comes to restrictions, the most common that you find are things like Pauper, which is a cube using only commons, or you have things like Peasant, which is a cube using only commons and uncommons. There are other type of restrictions that people put on themselves in terms of building cubes, like I've seen one-drop cubes, I've seen like horror-themed cubes. We're not really going to be talking about those type of things because they don't really affect the set review. We're trying to keep the set review covering as wide a range of things as possible. In terms of size, the general idea is that with the smaller cubes, the average card quality is higher. Like, for example, in a 360 cube, you're going to be running the best 360 cards possible there. Whereas with larger cubes, like with 540 or 720, there is room for less optimal bits, and you're often looking for duplicates of effects. So if we say a card could see play in a 720 cube, it probably means that there's already an effect that does something similar that could be more efficient, but if you want extra versions of that effect, then that's when you're looking at running this card, something like that. All right, so with that preamble out of the way, James, kick us off with our first white card of the day.
All right, first up in white, we have Crystal Barricade. This is 1 white for a 0/4 artifact creature wall. It has Defender. It says you have hexproof and prevent all non-combat damage that would be dealt to other creatures you control. I'm actually not like that much of a believer in this card. I think it will have some good matchups for sure, and it will have times it will feel frustrating for your opponent. They're looking at their burn spells. It's like they can't bolt this, they can't bolt your other creatures, and they can't bolt you. There'll be scenarios where it's really strong. Also, like blanks your Thoughtseize effects, all that stuff. But I kind of feel like it shakes out to a sideboard card, really. And even in that scenario, you're going to not block their creatures ever, so that they can't bolt and kill this. And to be honest, the red decks I find now are a little bit less about burning your face than they have been in the past. They're a bit more, a little bit more gut, a little bit less less fire blasts these days, right?
Mhm.
Like, yeah, I think if you put it in, there would be games where the card would look really strong, but I kind of feel like there are better uses of this slot, and like in 90% of decks, I would rather have my wall be a Wall of Omens than this, you know?
Yeah, so obviously Wall of Omens is the obvious comparison. That's effectively the same stats, body, it has defender, obviously it's a wall, but it comes in and draws a card and replaces itself. That obviously does more with like things with like flicker synergies and that kind of stuff. But even like the thing in general is just like Wall of Omens has kind of been just like that style of card has just been crept out of Cube because like it's not proactive. Like you're not really furthering the game by playing a wall. And yes, there'll be like some like Uber control decks that like want that kind of thing. But like there's plenty of just like more impactful 2-drops that can kind of like sit there and just grow throughout the game. Or you can play something like a Lion Sash, which is like an answer for things and can eventually kind of block and that kind of stuff. And just we saw Wall of Omens in the Mitgo Live cube, but that was a bit more of a throwback cube, and that's kind of like the last time I've seen anyone really run a Wall of Omens nowadays. It's just yes, this card can be annoying for your opponents, and like stopping like hand attack is quite nice in like some matchups, that kind of stuff. But just like it doesn't actually do anything to like win you the game.
Yeah, absolutely. I think obviously this would be for control decks, but I don't think control decks want to spend a card on this particularly most of the time.
Yeah, no, I'd agree. Yeah. I mean, it's cool to get a slightly power crept version of Wall of Omens, but
is this a power crept version of Wall of Omens?
I think
Wall of Omens draws a card.
Yeah, but I think in a control deck, I think this is better. Just like there'll be matchups like if you're playing Wall of Omens, you want it to like protect your life total, and I think this does a better job at doing that. Like, yeah, my gut is if you want a specifically, and this is the bigger part of it. I don't think many decks want a 0-4 wall anymore. That's more the issue. Like if you're running Wall of Omens, it's more you're a slow deck and you just want an extra bit of card filtering. Like that could be a opt basically or something like that, or like a cycling card for all it's really worth. Like if you're really wanting to run a wall, you're not running this, you're running something like Thingy in the Ice, because that can at least do the blocky defender thing and then flip into a big creature that can like beat down your opponent. That's way more interesting and kind of cooler than just like a wall that sits there.
Yeah, for sure. This is kind of sick with Blasphemous Acts and like damage sweepers, I guess. But that sounds like a commander thing more than a cube thing to me.
No, exactly, yeah. Yeah, that's not really where Boris is now.
I think that's isn't it? Yeah.
Nice. All right, let's keep it moving. Let's move on to a really adorable card. So this card is actually from the Jumpstart product that comes along with it. So there's no Commander products with this set, but there are Jumpstart. Next up, we're talking about Generous Pup. It is a 1 white for a 2/2 creature dog with vigilance, and whenever 1 or more +1s on counters are put on Generous Pup, put a +1s on counter on each other creature you control. This ability triggers only once each turn. So this is in a bit of a tricky spot. I can see worlds where this will just pop off. Like if you have this in a Luminarch Aspirant that's reliably putting counters on the pup every turn, and then if you have a bunch of tokens, you will just win that game. You will take over the game. Your board will get massive, and you'll just power through your opponents. I think my issue is that the majority of the time, this is going to be nothing apart from a 2/2 vigilance. A lot of the way that you tend to be able to support +1s on counters in Cube is with cards that put counters on themselves or put counters onto other creatures. You don't really want cards that kind of do nothing in a vacuum. Like I mentioned Luminarch Aspirant, but you also have things like Reluctant Role Model. You have things like Siege Veteran. In green, you have things like Bristly Bill, that kind of stuff. Those are the cards that kind of see play in counters deck because they are threats that come in and grow themselves or can grow other creatures. This needs something else to make this, or this needs two things to make this good. This needs effectively something to put counters onto it, and then you effectively want a board state to really get advantage of this. I think it's a cool card, but I think it just like if you are going really deep on the +1 on counters archetype, then potentially. But I think in the majority of cubes, I think you just want something that's more proactive. Like I'd much rather have like a Scavenging Ooze in a +1 counter deck, or a Lion Sash, just something like that can kind of put the counters on itself and have some added utility, rather than kind of like this in theory big splashy payoff because they're going to be consistent and they're going to have more use. This isn't going to get there most of the time, I think.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's the thing of there was maybe a point where this would have been good in a +1/+1 counters deck because there were only so many of the good 2-drops that enabled themselves and did the thing, but we've just got a ton more of them recently, right? Like the 2 and 3 mana creatures that get counters and enable your counter synergies, but also self-contained threats.
And there's one more in this set as well, actually.
Yeah, and you just, I think, shouldn't be running this sort of card in your counter decks anymore. Honestly, I know if this is heresy. Like, I sort of feel the same way as I do about hardened scales, for example. I think hardened scales is like no longer good in the hardened scale stack. Just run more stuff that actually enables itself, you know?
No, I would agree with that. I would say this is possibly one of the most adorable cards I've ever seen, because it is a generous puppy feeding a bone to 3 stray cats, and my heart melts, James.
I'll tell you what, there are some good best pet contenders in this set.
Yeah, strong contender. But yeah, let's keep the train rolling, James.
Sure. Next up, we have Sunblessed Healer. This is 1 white for a 3/1 creature human cleric at uncommon. It has kicker for 1 white, so you can pay it for 2 mana or for 4 mana. It has lifelink, and when this creature enters, if it was kicked, return target non-land permanent with mana value 2 or less from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is just super solid. In any like low to the ground, fairly aggressive white deck, you're going to be really happy with this card, I think. I mean, it doesn't even have to be that aggressive, right? Just having a lot of 1/2 mana permanents. The thing is, right, it's a powerful 4-drop in most of those decks because the white 2-drops are threatening enough that they do tend to, that your opponent kind of has to kill them. And then on turn 4, like playing this, getting your Luminarch Aspirant back, that's just a really, really strong turn 4 play. Now, sure, there are like a bunch of powerful white 4-drops already, but if you cut your, cutting your hero Bladehold and putting this guy in just lets you curve out more consistently as well, right? Because this is perfectly passable to play on turn 2. You will not, if you have this and another 2-drop in your hand on turn 2, you'll almost always play the other 2-drop because it will generally be more powerful than a 3/1 lifelinker. But playing a 3/1 lifelinker on turn 2 is a million times better than playing nothing on turn 2. So just like the white decks play a lot better when you get to consistently curve out, and this helps you do that while still giving you that slightly later game power. Having said all this, it's quite hard to find cuts for white aggro creatures in really high power level cubes. Like, there are just a lot of really strong options. Like I could see an argument for maybe cutting like a hero of Bladeholds or something for this at the 4-drop slot, but there's a ton of other great white 4s we're not playing if you wanted to cut that card anyway. But if you go down the power levels of a cube, like in Peasant, I think this is pretty phenomenal actually. For basically like any low to ground white deck, and it doesn't have to be like mono white aggro either, right? It can be like white black value stuff, and this is still going to be pretty strong. Get back your Deep Cavern Bat. I'm kind of into it all. Like the lifelink's really nice as well, right? Just gives you a really good buffer against the other aggressive decks. Not a lot of bad things to say about this card, really. Even a human for your tribal stuff, if you care about that.
Yeah, I'd agree. Very solid card. Yeah. I think you kind of nailed it in terms of, it might not be one just because it's competing against so many higher powered cards in terms of like unrestricted cubes. But at lower power level, you also tend to see things like life gain be more of a synergy. And this kind of has a nice crossover there with the lifelink. But I think slam dunk in any peasant cubes. Will just be a very, very solid card. All right. We're going up the rarity and up the mana value next with Valkyrie's Call. This is 3 white for an enchantment that says, whenever a non-token, non-angel creature you control dies, return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control with a +1/+1 counter on it. It has flying, it is an angel in addition to its other types. This is a very big card. I don't think there's any way to combo with this. James, correct me if I'm wrong in a moment. But so effectively, this is just a value card on a do-nothing enchantment by itself that costs 5 mana. And I will admit that is not great. If you don't have a board and a sack outlet, this kind of does nothing. And that kind of aristocrat shell where I'm talking about here is kind of where I think you might want to run this most, because you can reliably upgrade your board as it was. Like, I don't want to be casting this and then just like turning creatures sideways and hoping that they die. I mean, it does kind of make combat a bit miserable for your opponent because they can't really trade off because your creatures will come back bigger with evasion. So there is some kind of inevitability there. But I think the issue is they're kind of like, yeah, there are plenty of 5-drops out there in white that you can run that don't need a board of creatures to really get some kind of additional value. I could see a world where kind of like there are cubes out there that are kind of a bit more like live the dream, do big, dumb, broken things. And like, if you have a cube where like your Storm deck is winning with 1,000-Year Storm, then I think this is okay. But otherwise, I probably wouldn't run it.
Yeah, it's a cool card, and it'll have games where it does impressive looking stuff. But I think there are similar cards that don't ask quite as much of you, like Luminous Broodmoth, for example. The 4-mana 3/4 flyer. Whenever a creature you control without flying dies, you get it back for a flying counter. Like that basically does the same thing, but like it's less mana and gives you a body. Like, sure, it's like slightly easier to remove, but it's also just a threat. This is like way too do nothing for me for 5 mana.
Yeah, and you can combo off with the Luminous Broodmoth as well, can't you?
Yeah, you can do some nonsense with like Solemnity or like ways where your creatures can't get flying, right? Which is kind of cool. Whereas I'm sure if you look on EDH Rec, there'll be like a convoluted combo thing with this where you stop your things being angels in some way. But it sounds pretty bad, and you probably shouldn't do it.
Yeah, not for cube.
And I do advocate a lot of quite bad combos. So,
but this 5-mana white enchantment might be where we draw the line. Eh?
Yeah.
Reasonable. Well, what about our first blue card of the day, James? What do you think about Kiora the Rising Tide?
Okay, yeah. So first up in blue, we have Kiora the Rising Tide. This is 2 and a blue for a 3/2 legendary creature, Merfolk Noble. When Kiora enters, you draw 2 cards, then discard 2 cards. A little bit of careful study action. And when Kiora attacks, it has a threshold ability. When Kiora attacks, if there are 7 or more cards in your graveyard, you may create Scion of the Deep, a legendary 8/8 blue octopus creature token. This seems pretty solid in a graveyard deck, actually. So, for example, Champion of Wits is a card that people have run in cubes before, and it's like maybe got power crept out a little bit now. But that was like a smaller body without the attack trigger. Instead, you have like a late game Eternalize thing, which is fairly powerful. But the careful study on ETB creature can be pretty good. It's I think you need to care about your graveyard in some way, right? Beyond just enabling this. Obviously, the careful study is initially good because it helps get you to 8. But I think the issue with that is, or 7, cards in your graveyard to make your 8/8. The issue with that is that Kiora is really easy to kill. Like, it's a 3 mana for a 2 toughness creature. But it's not going to be that often that you run this out on turn 3, then attack Ritz and get your 8/8, I think, early in the game. So you have to actually really want that careful study. But a graveyard deck, you will, right? This is not just a payoff for your graveyard deck, it's also a really good enabler. And getting your careful study and then eating a removal spell, I think is just going to be pretty good in the right context. Listen, I'm not like putting this in Powered Cube or anything, but I think in a cube with really strong graveyard themes that's really leaning into those synergies, this is like a good mix of payoff and enabler. Which I think will be pretty strong. Like, gives you both selection, fuels your graveyard, then requires a removal spell. I think that is good enough for a lot of cubes.
No, I'd agree. I really like this card, but I have a soft spot for blue cards with Threshold, and that is a little bit of an issue. Like Threshold and kind of like the number of cards in your graveyard style of decks have kind of moved a bit away from blue in the last probably 20 years, if I'm honest with you. But like they are more kind of Golgari based, or maybe even Jund with like Delirium, that kind of stuff. I see this working in like a Sultai shell, but like, yeah, you are completely right. You do need to be like you are not just like curving out and playing this. Like if you are playing this, you need to be supporting like a Sultai deck. Yeah, you mentioned a few guys, we're going like careful studies. Like Thought Scours are quite good at filling up the graveyard, and like maybe is it time for Breakthrough, James? I missed that card. Like, but yeah, not one for most cubes, but like a budget cube doing self-mill. I think this will be pretty solid, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, marvelous. Let's move on to our next blue card. Next up, we have Mischievous Mystic. This is 1 green for a 2/1 creature human wizard with flying, and whenever you draw your second card each turn, create a 1/1 blue fairy creature token with flying. So importantly, this is also an uncommon, and this seems like a cool card for a Peasant Cube, if I'm honest. We've seen a number of cards, I think, since we first went to Eldraine that have cared about drawing like your second card in a turn. It's sort of like an Izzety-based kind of mechanic, kind of like what those colors are doing in a few sets. It could be what you're doing in these colors. There's a ton of cantrips in these colors. Like you have, like we mentioned some with the last card, but like Ops, Faithless Lootings, all this kind of stuff, and cards, and then payoffs like Emrakul's Messenger from MH3, which makes Scion tokens when you draw your second card, or Improbable Alliance, which also makes fairies. So you could build a whole archetype, you could build a whole strategy around this type of thing. There's probably enough density there now. But just outside of that, this could also just work as a self-contained card. Like it's an on-rate flyer for just 2 mana. And then if you get 1 extra body out of this, then you're probably very happy. And that could be from a cantrip, but it could also be something from like a Merfolk Looter. Like that all sounds pretty solid. That all sounds like something that Peasant Cubes are going to be doing. And then kind of if you go a bit more Live the Dream, like maybe you stick like a Curiosity onto this. That's an enchantment that draws a card when the creature deals combat damage to a player. So this will fuel that on your turn. You're going to be making a token every turn. Or even better than that, somehow Skull Clamp is Peasant legal, James. And that seems really, really good with this, because you just clamp the token, draw 2 cards, make another token. You're just kind of like, and then you're just kind of off to the races. Like you can do that every turn, basically. Like that seems pretty solid.
Yeah, seems really strong. I mean, 2 mana, 2/1 flyer is like a really good start for your blue 2 drops. Like I think a few years ago, this would have been a contender for much higher power level cubes, but we've just got so many great 2s for those recently. Yeah, Malcolm, Fairy Mastermind, etc. But yeah, for Peasant, this seems really strong to me actually, because 1/1 fly, like the tokens being 1/1 flyers is so much better than similar effects we've seen previously. Yeah, Emrakul's Messenger is great from Mastermind. That makes 0/1s. Like 1/1 flyers are real cards, and I don't think you have to be like supporting this in like an archetype in your cube. I think this is just a really good card for most blue decks. If your blue decks never draw more than 1 card in a turn, you're building your blue decks wrong, honestly.
Is that what I'm doing wrong? Okay.
Yeah.
Good.
Yeah, no, but I think, yeah, the enablers you mentioned are all great. Like, yeah, looters are great, cantrips are great. Clamp seems kind of insane. Although I don't know if you put Clamp in your Peasant Cube, I don't know how it isn't. That feels like just going to be the best card in your Peasant Cube by a lot. But
unless you put the Soul Ring in, but yeah. Those are probably cards that, yeah, from a power level point of view, shouldn't make it into the average Peasant Cube, but technically doable.
For sure.
All right. So I'll let James read this next one, but I will explain it first. So some of the cards printed in Mystery Booster 2 are cards that have been printed on Arena. So coming up next is an Arena only card. We're going to mention it because it's cool, and this is the first time it's been printed in paper, so it's the first time as paper cubers we can play with it. I will mention before James jumps in with it that these are quite rare in terms of just like I think it's in like the foil mythic slot or something like that. So just the chances of opening these is quite slim, but they are cool. But James, do you want to take it away with Oracle of the Alpha?
Yeah, for sure. So Oracle of the Alpha is 2 and a blue for a 2/3 creature bird wizard with flying. It says, when Oracle of the Alpha enters the battlefield, conjure the power 9 into your library and then shuffle. What a wild line of text that is. So, for those who don't know, Conjure is one of the sort of nonsense arena-only mechanics they introduced with alchemy and all that stuff. But you can definitely do it in paper. So when it says Conjure the Power 9 into your library, what does it mean? It means you get 1 copy of each of the Power 9. So your 5 Moxen, your Time Walk, your Time Twister, your Ancestral, your Black Lotus. You shuffle those into your library, and those are now just in your library for the rest of the game. You can draw them, you can play them like any other cards. Obviously, you take them out at the end of the game.
They do go to your graveyard. They are cards.
Yes, they are. They are cards in all the normal sense for SVM. This isn't like creating a token sort of thing where if it leaves the current zone, it's gone. They are just, you treat them like normal cards for the rest of the game. I should finish reading Oracle of the Alpha actually. Also, when Oracle of the Alpha attacks, you scry 1, which is nice.
More value. More value. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm first going to talk about how this plays as a card in terms of how good it is, and then I'm going to talk about sort of mechanical issues with actually running this card in logistics of running this card in a paper cube. I'm not expecting everyone to have a spare copy of the Power 9 to chuck into their tokens box, so we'll say that. But I've played this card a little bit on Arena, and it is really cool. It's so obviously on ETB, you shuffle 9 of the most powerful cards in Magic into your library. That's really sick. You're probably putting this in cubes that don't already have access to power, so it's really cool to have those power spikes in your library. It is kind of not all upside though, because it's worth bearing in mind that you're casting a free drop that is then greatly increasing the density of mana in your deck. You're shuffling 9 cards in, 6 of them just make mana.
Yeah, and Moxes are great early in the game, but afterwards they're when you're top decking, they're basically lands.
Yes,
with upside. With upside, I will say. But yes.
But you have to build your deck in such a way where your Moxen aren't bad later, right? If you're playing a deck where you top out, your curve tops out at 4, then drawing your Moxen later is going to suck. Even drawing your Lotus later might not be that good. So you need to build your deck in such a way that those cards are still good. So mostly I think that means you want to see a lot of cards. They play really well with card draw, especially big card draw spells. Wheels are insane with Moxen, right? And with Lotus. And you are introducing 1 to your deck already with the Time Twister. The other thing this plays really well with is tutors. Because you now have a Time Walk to tutor for, you have an Ancestral to tutor for, you have a Time Twister to tutor for. That's really powerful. And it's kind of cool, wanting tutors for cards that don't actually start in your deck. But that is kind of how it plays out sometimes. Well,
the tutor can find you this as well, I guess.
Exactly. Yeah. But yeah, you are just introducing busted cards into your deck, and you have the potential to do things your deck didn't before. And I think that's really cool. So I think, big card draw spells, the X card draw spells, are also just great here. And the other thing you can do with this is flicker it.
It's just an ETB.
So, which can, of course, compound on the same problem, right? You're getting more and more mandas, but you're also introducing more time walks. So you can go quite deep. I think it's a really good card for the story equity, Mm-hmm. You will do some wild things in your cube that you don't get to do normally. But I think actually without being a busted card on its own in terms of power level, I don't think, in most cubes you're meant to be first picking this. But yeah, so I think in those terms, all of the things about this card are really cool, and it's a sweet one to include. The downside is the logistics of putting this card in your queue.
This is such a faff.
Yeah, so obviously I'm assuming you're proxying a Power 9 here. The problem is you don't... How do you not just have a Power 9?
Yeah, how do you own multiple of these buggers?
Yeah. That's the issue, right? Is that if it was just 1, it would be fine. But you kind of need more than 1 copy of all the Power 9s. If someone plays this again, then you need to shuffle in another copy. And honestly, I don't know how many you'd put in before you sort of feel safe that you're never going to run out. I guess maybe you just say, there's 2 in the box. If you do it more than that many times, you don't get your trigger, deal with it.
Yeah.
I think that might be a reasonable way to go about it. So yeah, it's probably not one for a very sort of spiky cube environment where everyone wants everything to be perfect. But I think in terms of the gameplay experience, this is actually really cool. And the other thing to just mention, for the love of God, remember to take the Power 9 out of your deck at sideboarding.
Yeah. So that was going to be one thing that I was going to mention, is that because these are cards in your deck, they need to be in the same sleeves. You can't have them in different colored sleeves so you can easily find them afterwards. do need to. And I think that this gets specifically trickier if you're already running a cube that has Power 9 in it, because then it's kind of like which ones are in your deck, that kind of stuff. Like there is another card I'm going to talk about later that also has Conjure, which I think does this a bit more neatly because it's easier to run different artworks, because that one's only conjuring one card. Because this is conjuring 9 cards every time that are all individual and different, I do think this one is a bit tricky. And like, part of me would like to try it like once, but also then like it will come up pretty quickly, and it will. For me, it's just going to be a bit too much of a faff. Like, if you want to do this and you're happy with the admin, crack on. I think it will be cool. But just from my point of view, like, I kind of can't be bothered.
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Obviously, Dan, what I'm going to be doing is the Power 9 that are in my cube will be my Alpha Power 9, and then I'll be using the Unlimited Power 9.
Yeah, the whiteboard one. Yeah, that tracks.
Those just sit in the token box, I don't need them anyway.
One thing that's probably worth actually mentioning before we move on, that this is an uncommon. Sure. So if Skull Clamp was a bit too powerful for your power cube, then maybe this gets it. Yeah. For some reason, this is officially printed as an uncommon. So peasant cubers rejoice. All right, let's keep this train rolling. Let's move on to one that's probably going to be a bit of a brief discussion. Next up, we have Refute. This is 1 blue for an instant that says counter target spell, draw a card, then discard a card. This is a common, and that's kind of where we are for this, I think. This is a pauper card. Normally, so that is nice, because normally all the cancels with upside that we have are rares. There's a bunch of them now. They don't really see much play in higher powered level cubes, but I think cancel could still have a place at lower powered level cubes, like that tempo swing of like, I was going to say countering the crawl worm, but it's probably more of a, there's probably a Modern Horizons 6-drop that fills that slot now. But this is a common. I think if you're if you're still running cancel in your cube, I think you cut it. It is nice that common that there is a slightly power crept version of this card at common, because the additional bit of filtering on the counter spell, I think, makes it a bit more likely that you're happy to run this at 3 mana compared to cancel, which is just it's just the counter basically.
Yeah, so it's like all the cancels with really good upside, a lot of them are rares, but all the really good 2 mana counter spells are commons, Counter spells are common, mana leaks are common, like unless you're in a spot of your cube where you're like you don't really want a ton of 2 mana counters because you just you think they're a little bit too efficient and a bit punishing for more expensive cards, which I think is a valid concern in some cubes. And if that's your spot, then maybe you want to run this. But if you're just looking for what are the best counter spells, there's a lot of, like, all the 2 mana ones are basically better than this, I think. And a bunch of them are commons.
No, I'd agree. Yeah, well, counter spells actually a common now, so or it probably always was. But
yeah, it always has been.
All right, James, I'm giving you some more text to read. Check out this lad.
Yeah, next up we have Sphinx of the Forgotten Lore. This is 2 blue, so 4 mana for a 3/3 creature Sphinx with flash and flying. It says when this creature attacks, target instant or sorcery card in your graveyard gains flashback until end of turn. Flashback cost is equal to that card's mana cost. This card seems pretty powerful to me, actually. Obviously, it needs to go in the right deck. You need a density of spells, and specifically like proactive spells, which you're going to be happy casting at any time. Like, obviously, this doesn't work at all with counter spells. Which is like a notable point of difference to something like Snapcaster Mage. But this has the potential to snowball, which Snapcaster Mage certainly does not. And actually, I think if you play this fairly conservatively, it is going to very reliably get you something, because the flash really makes this card. I think without flash, this card would be pretty bad. But
yeah, I'd agree.
You can just, if your deck for likes to play at instant speed, you can play, if your opponent just passes the turn, right, you don't run this out, you play something else. And but when your opponent taps out, you can just play this end of turn, and you're going to get to untap with it, swing in, cast a spell out of your graveyard. And then at that point, if your opponent untaps and kills it, like, sure, you'd rather they didn't, and you got to flashback more spells, but you came out ahead for that exchange, right? That is a 2-for-1 because they've used their removal spell, but you got to cast your spell out of your graveyard. Yeah, so I think in just any deck with like a good density of removal and card draw spells, like specifically cheap, right? You don't want to be. This isn't really about flashing back like 4 or 5 mana spells, but like you want like cheap cantrips, cheap removal spells. Discard's great. This looks really solid to me. But the issue is going to be like, because it does die to a lot of things, like if they just have a bolt in their hand and they're thinking about this card, it is not hard for them to just keep leaving up the mana for a bolt, and then it's going to be tough to get it through. But if they'd wanted to make this card really, really strong, I think like a ward 2 on this would be kind of insane, right?
Yeah, that'd be nuts. Yeah.
Yeah, I think this is still a pretty strong card, and I think one that is certainly a reasonable inclusion, even in high power level cubes. Like obviously, it's a very competitive slot. I'm not saying it is the best use of that slot you possibly have, but I think it will be a solid card and see play basically in any cube.
No, I'd agree with that. I think this is a really cool card. Yeah, what you're saying about the flash being important, I really agree with, because this doesn't work with counter spells compared to like Snapcaster or even the blue Gearhulk, because this only gives the stuff flashback when it attacks. That's the window there. But the flash does mean that you can hold up counter magic in hand with this and basically see what your opponent is doing. So the end result could still be that you're either countering their spell or you're playing a threat, which is cool and is nice. The thing I like about this card is this actually kind of, I've been struggling recently to find reasons to want to play like a spellsy deck in Cube, and kind of like the things with Snapcaster Mage and the blue and Torrential Gearhulk is they're just like generically good cards that kind of can go in any blue based deck. Like Snapcaster Mage especially, kind of like if you're in blue, you'll probably just take it because it will, like, getting back any spell is good. But like if you're actually in the Spellslinger deck, this is more the reward for that. It's kind of like a payoff for that deck, and I think I like that a bit more. If I was trying to force it, because just like getting back like base level, just getting back a couple of card draw spells every turn, help the train rolling, help you filter through your deck is nice. But like just getting back like 2 or 3 burn spells over the course of a game, like that can just kill your opponent. Like this chipping in for damage in the air, and you cast, I don't know, like Lightning Bolt twice, you cast a Chain Lightning twice, like you'll just kill your opponent. Like that seems like this actually makes me want to play an Is It Spells deck more than like Snapcaster Mage and Torrential Gearhulk, because like it's a bit more of an engine that I think is interesting.
Yeah, makes sense.
All right, we're moving on to, I think, our first actual full-on playtest card of the day. So this is Wise Drafter's Will. So we did do a full review on this in our last episode where we talked about the Vintage Cube Live. So we'll kind of give the TLDR for this one and the other one we spoke about there for those who've already listened to it. But Wise Drafter's Will is a single blue for an enchantment. Your opponents play with their hands revealed. You can pay a blue to sacrifice Wise Drafter's Will to draw a card, or you can pay blue to sacrifice Wise Drafter's Will to counter target spell. So this card is incredibly cheap, but might actually be too powerful for the most powerful cubes, because you just always seeing what your opponent is doing for a single blue is kind of nuts. Your opponent can never bait the counter spell with this out. You always know what they are doing. You are always going to counter the best, most impactful thing from their hand if you want to, or it just has the upside of it can just draw you a card if you need to cycle it. It's also a single blue, so you can play this on turn 1, and then once it's in play and once it's resolved, unless they have a stifle effect, they can't counter your counter spell. That is kind of nuts. I think that was kind of the gist of what we kind of decided last time we spoke about this, James. But is there anything I've missed with Wide Drafts as well?
Yeah, no, I think it's a powerful card. I don't think it's like a busted card. It will feel very strong in the slower, grindier matchups, right? Where that information really matters. And you can really pick off a crucial spell to counter, and it is quite hard to interact with. It isn't great against the aggressive decks, right? You are ultimately spending 3 mana to counter a spell, which isn't that good. Like, yeah, it's split up over 2 turns, and it's I do think it's a strong effect, but I don't think it's like busted or anything. I'm probably not gonna. I probably wouldn't put it in my cube, even if I had easy access to one, just because I feel like hands being revealed for the whole game is actually not that fun, personally. I don't know if this is a personal taste thing, but I think hidden information is quite a key part of what makes Magic fun as a game. but yeah, certainly a powerful card, and put it in your cube if it tickles your fancy, you know.
Yeah, so this was actually an invitational card. This was Kai Buddha's invitational card, designed by him.
Yeah, well, it's not the invitational card they printed, right? It was the invitational card that he designed for his invitational card, and they said, "No, this is too good. We're printing Void Mage Prodigy instead."
But also, like, what set was that? That was in Onslaught. Now, that's like 25 years ago. Like, Jesus, this would have been powerful 25 years ago. Yeah. Nice. All right. We only have one black card of the day, James. Do you want to take it away with 9 Lives Familiar?
For sure. So 9 Lives Familiar is 1 black for a 1/1 creature cat. This is not a contender for best pet, I will say. This is quite a sinister looking cat.
This is a bad pishy, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
I don't like saying it.
So 9 Lives Familiar enters with 8 revival counters on it. When this creature dies, if it had a revival counter on it, return it to the battlefield with 1 fewer revival counters on it at the beginning of the next end step. Cool, like, top-down design as well, by the way. The whole, I think, all, like, cats have 9 lives shtick.
I'm surprised it's taken them this long. Like, I'm surprised there isn't, like, a dark card from, like...
Oh, I mean, there's literally a card called 9 Lives.
That's an enchantment, though. But yeah, an actual cat.
True. So is it good? The main thing is, so it's a lot of sacrifice fodder, right? You can get 9 instances of sacrifice this creature out of 1 creature, which could be interesting for an aristocrat-style deck. The thing is, it really doesn't do anything else. Like, I mean, it chumps a lot, but for 3 mana... there are other ways of getting a free thing to sacrifice a turn, which I think work better for less mana. As the upside of this is you can actually get 2 sacrifice triggers a turn, right? Because you sacrifice it in your main phase, it comes back in your end step, you sack it again in your end step, it will come back in their end step, and you get it again on your turn. So I guess that is something, but if you compare this, for example, with a card like a Theomancer, gives you a free thing to sacrifice every turn, right? You just sack a snake, you get it back on their upkeep. You can sack again on that turn, you get it back on your upkeep. But a Theomancer is also just a really strong card for anyone trying to attack you on the ground, right? Because it's a 1/1 death touch that you don't care if it dies. They basically can't attack into your Theomancer on the ground, or it's really bad too, and that's felt like killing you incredibly quickly. Whereas this just jump blocks. And that's all it ever does outside of being sack fodder. Even a card like Jadar, right? One that like makes a decayed zombie every turn. It's just for 2 mana gives you a way to get a free sack trigger every turn, but also like attacks for 2. And I kind of feel like those cards are just stronger. I guess the upside of this card is they can't interact with it with like a lightning bolt very well, which you can with a Theomancer. But, you know, a bunch of removal exiles and stuff anyway. So I don't know that that's enough to make this card something you would want to put in your cube.
No, yeah, I think this is a tricky one. Like, my hope is that this card is incredibly cheap. And if people want to try it in like more budget environments where they're doing where they are supporting aristocrats, then they can give this a go. Because like obviously you are limited to how many times you can do in a turn. But like this is effectively like 9. This is 9 potential damage with a Goblin Bombardment, or this plus a Sack Elder and a Blood Artist is a potential 18-point life swing, and it is a little slow. But if you are supporting that in a more budget environment, I'd be open to testing it because it is a unique effect you don't really see on cards, and kind of like I think it could be interesting because yeah, the chump value is there as well. It is a roadblock on top of being it protects your life total while letting you set up your engine, which could be something that those decks could want.
Yeah, for sure. I would be way more into it if it came back straight away, so you could just straight up like do 9 with your Goblin Bombardment.
Yeah, that would be a sick card.
That would be very, very powerful. But yeah, you are gated to like 2 a turn because it comes back end step.
Yeah, the cowards basically gave us the once a turn thing again.
Yeah.
Boo, James. All right, let's move on to red. This is sort of a red card. Should this be in lands? I'm not entirely sure. So we have another playtest card. This one is Gobland. It is a land creature mountain goblin. It is a 2/1, and it can't block. I'll read the rule text on it as well because this will help explain a little bit. Gobland isn't a spell. It's affected by summoning sickness, and it has tap, add a red. So for those who've ever seen Dryad Arbor, this is basically Dryad Arbor, but is also a goblin, and it's a 2/1, and it can't block. So I really like this card. I'm not sure how powerful it is, but I think it is cool. So aggro decks generally want to run less lands. I think this basically, if you have this in your pool, it guarantees that you are running a 16 land deck. And I think those decks are happy doing that. It does have its drawbacks. You can't play this and a 1-drop on turn 1 because it's a creature, it has summoning sickness. Then if you want to use it as an aggressive threat, you're basically going to be down a land drop for the game. Like, if this is attacking, it's not generating mana. And it is also a land that dies to all removal. I might be talking myself out of this card as we go, but I still like it. There are positives, though. It can't be countered. It is free to put into play. It is cool that you can because it is a mountain goblin, it can turn a fetch land into a blocker.
Literally can't block. There was one line of actual rules text.
All right, but you can fetch for it as a surprise attacker or on their end step, and then you attack with it. All right, yes, reasonable. If you're looking to go for more go wide kind of red deck, then I think like something to win with a Hell Rider, then I think I like this. It does also count towards your hoof and your overrun effects, which is nice. Oddly, in a deck with green, I think this is better because those decks tend to have ramp, so losing this as a mana source isn't bad. Where I think this is best, though, and where I think it could actually see play, like legitimately see play and be good, is if you're supporting the Delirium deck. Now, I've added this to mine, and one of the better cards in that deck is Dryad Arbor because it has 2 types. It is a land, it is a creature. When it goes to the graveyard, it powers up your Goyfs by 2. I don't think this card is busted, but if you are supporting that Delirium thing, if you're running all the Goyfs that we've got this year, then I would kind of be tempted by this because, just it being 2 types on a cool card that I think the aggro decks will still play, I'd be tempted to try this. James is giving me a face. So I'm going to pass it over to you, and you're going to tell me why I'm wrong, I'm assuming.
Not entirely. I will say as well, it's just a very funny card. I quite like it. The artwork's cool. Dryad Arbor for me is a card that is like basically only worth playing in very specific contexts. Like mostly if you have Green Sun Zenith, right? To turn your Zenith into an elf.
That one you can block with.
And you can block with it. I do not think that playing this on turn 1 is generally a good idea. I like because those decks, presumably the deck you would want to do that in is a very aggressive deck. Those decks want to play a bunch of 1-drops. This is so much worse than going mountain 1-drop on turn 1. Because if you're playing a 2-drop on turn 2, which is what you want to do, then you're not attacking with it, right? And then later in the game, it's something, but it's still just basically a tap land, and most decks hate tap lands. And it dies to removal. Like, it's so bad if your turn 1 is this guy, and then they just go Swamp Fatal Push. You're so far behind. That's so much worse than getting strip mined, for example. Because if they strip mine you, you're not actually down behind them on mana. Whereas in this interaction, you are. They're just always going to be a mana ahead of you, and that's horrendous for an aggro deck, right? Because you're trying to curve out and kill them quickly, so you really want to be ahead on mana early in the game. Why Moxen are so busted in aggro decks. The only useful thing I see about this is the turning a fetch land into a creature later in the game. Because it does have 2 power. It's not completely nothing as an attacker. So maybe if I had 3 red fetch lands, I would consider running it. But mostly I think this is not a very good card.
No, I think that's I do see all that, and also mono aggro decks aren't known for prioritizing fetch lands.
Exactly.
You're not going to take this and then draw some fetch lands to make this thing better. Yes, yeah. If it could block, it'd be entirely different. I know. I have
It's good against edicts. We'll give you that. It's good.
That's fair. That's fair.
Crack your fetch land and blank for edict.
There is a chance I might still test it and then get yelled at, but that's the joys of having a cube. What about the next one, James? The next one seems more solid, I would say. What do you think of Goblin Surprise?
Yeah, for sure. So Goblin Surprise is 2 and a red for an instant. You choose one. Creatures you control get +2/+0, or create 2/1/1 red goblin creature tokens, and it's a common, importantly. I think it's pretty clear this is basically just for pauper cube, right? I think even peasant cubes really have better options for this, just because neither mode is that efficient. 3 mana create 2/1/1s is really not that good. 3 mana, like this is Trumpet Blast, basically, +2/+0 until end of turn. It'll kill some people for sure. I think that's the mode you're more there for, but it's but again, there are better versions. The very nice thing about this card, though, is that it is exactly the right sort of modal card for a go wide deck. Like, it's good when you have already gone wide and have a bunch of creatures that can kill them. And when your game plan is not going so well and you need to get more creatures in order to enable your other cards, it can do that as well. That's exactly the right sort of split card that actually works well, because the 2 modes are good in exactly in the 2 scenarios you need them to be good. So I think that would be the main reason to run this. I think if you are looking at a pauper cube with a red go wide tokens deck, this is probably a pretty good one to consider. Outside of that, not too interested.
No, exactly. Yeah, like Trumpet Blast do just like they're simple cards, but they do just win games. And the fact that this is an instant as well is quite nice. Like I would imagine pauper cubes would have no issue running like a Krenko's command and just like yes, so just paying 1 more mana to make it an instant is a perfectly fine card on top of the Trumpet Blast. Yeah. It'll get played in a lot of decks. Pauper Cubis rejoice. All right. Next up, we have Kellen, Planar Trailblazer. This is a single red for a 2/1 legendary creature, human fairy scout. You can pay 1 red, and it says, if Kellen is a scout, it becomes a human fairy detective and gains whenever Kellen deals combat damage to a player, exile the top card of your library. You may play that card this turn. It then has another activated ability for 2 and a red, which says, if Kellen is a detective, it becomes a 3/2 human fairy rogue and gains double strike. So, cards like Figure of Destiny like this they're all pretty solid, especially in aggressive decks, as they can be fine mana sinks if you run out of things to do, or they just let you be mana efficient. Like if you play this on turn 1, if at any point you have 2 mana, because importantly, this isn't like level up, it's not sorcery speed, you can do this at instant speed, so maybe you're holding up a bit of burn, something like that, to see what your opponent's doing. If they don't play anything or don't do anything, you can just be mana efficient, pay the 2 mana on turn 2, or just win later in the game when you have more mana, and put it into this and level it up. That's all right. In terms of the levels of this card, so kind of like the second level, I'm not overly excited about because it doesn't make it bigger. I'm not really thrilled about playing this as a 1 mana 2/1 and then just putting in the 2 mana to make it that, or give it that bit of card advantage ability. If you then level it up to the second level, where it becomes a 3/2 double strike with that card advantage ability, I do like that more. 6 mana for 3/2 double strike is expensive, but when you're doing it over multiple turns and being efficient with your mana, it is a bit more doable and a bit more attainable. It does die really easy to anything, which isn't great, and I don't like the fact that, like, even at its highest level, it only has 2 toughness, so you could... A 6 mana investment to have it die to a shock is not great, but because the base level of this card is a 1 mana 2/1, like, I don't know, last episode we were talking about how much I love Jackal Pup, and yeah, this is better than Jackal Pup. It doesn't have a downside, it is only upside. So yeah, just because the base of this card is fine and solid in a red deck means that the upside is that it is all upside. So yes, Kellen's a very solid card, I think.
Better than Jackal Puff is the hot takes for people are here for, yeah.
Less vibes, though.
I've actually played this card, so I had it in my pre-release deck. Pretty much agree with how you say about how it plays out. The turn you put the 2 mana in doesn't feel great. But basically, it feels like the main thing the 2 mana activation does is set up for 3rd activation.
Yeah, I see that.
But the nice thing is, if you have 2 mana to sort of take a turn off-ish, I mean, hopefully not a whole turn, then it actually does become a threat the next turn, because once you have put that 2 mana in, you can attack with it, and then the threat of activation thing is very real. So often, like a sequence came up a lot is you level this up to 2, then you just attack with it, and they're not able to block profitably against a 3/2 double strike, so they'll just let it through, and sometimes you get a card, which is kind of nice. And you can either cast that card or you can pump in the 3 mana if you want to. But yeah, there is a very, very real threat of activation thing there. Having said that, yes, it is a lot of mana total to get there, and it's just going to be horrendous if they have the instant speed removal. So I think mostly you should be looking at this as does my deck want red 2 mana 2 power creatures for 1 mana? If so, then this is a really good one. Like there's not a ton of great options in that slot still, and this is probably one of the best. It's obviously not in the same league as something like a Ragavan, which you just put in every red deck. But for your red decks that really want 1-drops, I think this is a really strong choice. I think it'll show up in a lot of cubes, even very high power level cubes. But yeah, just don't view it in that power level as along with the Ragavans and whatnot. This is very much a card Ragru where you're here for red for a 2/1, and then the other abilities are really good in some games, but I don't think you should be planning to like go turn 1 play this, turn 2 level it up, turn 3 level it up. That's not really what this is about. Yeah, cause even compared to Figure, right? Figure becomes a 4/4 once you've leveled it up. It's much harder to kill at that point, and still has more modes to go. Whereas this is always easy to kill.
No, I'd agree. And they're saying, yeah, I know I was joking about like Jackal Pup and like Fire Drinker Seder type cards, but like there is Ragavan kind of at the top of the mountain, and then they do kind of fall off pretty aggressively afterwards. Like it's effectively just like it being a 1 mana 2/1 could be enough. And yeah, in terms of upside, it probably does have the best upside of all of the other ones that aren't Ragavan. So this is probably the second best 1 mana 2/1 in red out there.
For sure, yeah. I didn't actually sound too negative, because I am probably going to put this in my powered cube. You know, I'm just saying that you shouldn't be like building your whole game plan around leveling this guy up a bunch. But yes, it is a very strong option. Like I'm probably gonna. I think I've still got like Swift Spear in my cube. I think I'm going to cut that for this guy.
Yeah. I think that's very reasonable. I'm counting Shivan Devastator as a 1-drop, so that's in mine.
Nice.
But yeah. All right. What do you think of our next card, James?
Okay, next up we have Sear Slicer Goblin. This is 1 red for a 2/1. It has Raid. So at the beginning of your end step, if you attacked this turn, create a 1/1 red goblin creature token. The games where this card works, it's going to be great. Like, cards that make a 1/1 every turn tend to cost more than 2 mana in red. And this will run away with some games. You know, if you go 1-drop, turn 2, you attack for your 1-drop, play this, get a 1/1, and you kill that blocker, you get attacks in again. You're kind of loving life. You're really accumulating the value there. And you know, if you have any way to use the tokens, whether that be like mass pump effects or like it goes really hard for a skull clamp, that's going to be really strong. Or just, you know, attacking with a bunch of 1/1s that you got for free off of your 2-drop. Having said that, this is a 2/1 with no relevant abilities in combat. So, and you do need it to survive combat or survive to your end step to get the trigger. So probably just attacking with this dude is not always going to get you there. Pairs very well with evasive creatures, though. If you so you know this doesn't, I think, have to be limited to mono red. If you were like, say, blue red and you had a bunch of good flyers, this I think could be pretty interesting. Also, just having a bunch of removal spells to clear blockers out of the way can definitely be a good way to go about it as well. Yeah, I think this card's pretty strong overall. I think even for like really high power level cubes, I can certainly see this being a strong option. I kind of feel like I need to play with it a little bit to get a real strong sense of where it's going to end up. But the upside is definitely here.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think it is nice that kind of this feels like a first attempt at like what would a Rebel Master look like at 2 mana.
Yeah, and it's nice that this doesn't have to attack itself as well, right?
Exactly, because if you can do the like ideal world on 1 mana, you play your 1-drop, but on turn 2 you play this swinging with your 1-drop that gets through because your opponent hasn't played anything, then you get that token. And I think if you get at least 1 token out of this, I think you are fine. Like that is like the bare minimum you need to be getting 1 token out of this, and this still surviving as well, I guess. Primarily this will just be a role player in a aggro deck, but it is nice that kind of like that the token aspect can bleed over into like aristocrats. And like what's kind of cool is like this with like a Bitter Blossom seems really fun, because then your Bitter Blossom is basically making you 2 tokens every turn. That seems pretty good. I think if you're running this like for this to get into a cube, I think you do want the bodies. I think I think it's a solid aggressive card, but to warrant a place in 2, just because there's so many just very powerful, just aggressive 2-drops nowadays. Like we have things like Generous Plunderer, we have Inti, we have Magda, we have Robber of the Rich. These kind of cards are just like more efficient in terms of just like killing your opponent. So I think if you want the token makers, basically, then I think this goes up in value a little bit and then can get into your cube. Like I'll be honest with you, it wasn't long ago I was considering running Mog War Marshal. I will admit this card is better than Mog War Marshal. Less iconic though, but yeah, weaker vibes, stronger gameplay. Yeah. All right. Talking of vibes, James, let's talk about Torolf's Disciple. This is 2 and a red for a 3/3 creature human warrior with haste, and whenever Torolf's Disciples attacks, conjure 4 cards named Lightning Bolt into your library, then shuffle. So this is the other card that we're going to talk about that is made for Arena, and it's also somehow an uncommon. This is much more straightforward a card than Oracle of the Alpha. Base level, 3 mana, 3/3 haste, gets in, rumble straight away. That's fine. We love that. Being honest, the shuffling a bunch of Lightning Bolts into your deck is also something that any card running this is going to want. Like any aggressive red-based deck or red X deck, it's fine adding 4 Lightning Bolts. It makes late games so much easier for you, because you're just you're basically 1 attack with this, you are adding 12 damage to your deck, just like in your deck, ready to top deck later on. If your opponent is on less than 12, then all you have to do is just wait, and eventually you'll win that. That seems kind of fun. If you get your second attack with this, that's 24 damage of burn. That's kind of wild. Like they are dead at that point. Like all you have to do is just draw out the game and you will win. From a logistic point of view, I also like this one a lot more than Oracle of the Alpha, because it's just 1 card. And what's nice is that like in your cube, you could have like the regular art one, and then you could have like the Mystical Archive version that's all gold or fancy, or like a whiteboarded version for this, and it's much easier to kind of like take it afterwards, because like even if it's left in, if they draw that artwork later on, it's like, oh sorry, this one shouldn't be in, I'll draw another card, that kind of thing. Like that's all pretty easy, I think. For that reason, like again, so I've done to proxy this card, because I think this card is like £100 or something wild like that, because it doesn't have there aren't that many of them printed at that time of recording. But of all of the conjure cards they have printed, this is like, I don't know, Lightning Bolt's cool. I'm kind of here for it. I think this one's fun.
Yeah, it seems pretty cool. You will end up with a lot of Lightning Bolts in your deck some games. Like,
I don't think that's a bad thing, though.
Yeah, no, I agree.
I think that's great.
I could see being in a spot where, like, every draw step, your like expected Lightning Bolts is about 0.8, you know? Which sounds kind of sick. How many Lightning Bolts do you need in your tokens box to feel safe?
There's been, I think, 20.
Yeah, 20 sounds reasonable.
That's 5 attacks. The opponent will be blocked. Like, I think at most you are getting 2 attacks with this, because, dear God, your opponent is trading off with this.
Oh, yeah, and to be honest, you know, at some point they'll be dead, right? So
yeah, exactly, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree, it seems cool. I probably can't be bothered with the carrying around 20 lightning bolts to enable one card, but
that part is reasonable. But
vibes are cool, and I like it, and also this will really vibe with the Ben players in your group, you know.
Yes, yeah. My wife, who one of her favorite cards is Lightning Bolt, is like that. That could be the reason why this is a slam dunk, because I know she'll love it. And yeah. This is a card I want to play with. I want like this is a card I am fine proxying and buying like 10 or like. Maybe I'll just proxy the fancy lightning bolts as well to begin with. But yeah, this seems fun. And because it's just one card, I think it's easier to manage afterwards, basically, rather than 9 multiple cards, which are all do multiple things and stuff. I think this is just nicer. It's neater. It's easier to explain as well, and like it's not like it's going to lead to some kind of convoluted, paradoxical outcome combo where you're returning stuff and moving stuff into different zones. This is just no. I'm playing this 3/3 and I'm killing you with it. I think that's cool.
Yeah, for sure. And to be honest, you probably don't need to proxy them, because I imagine Sahar has 20 spare lightning bolts somewhere.
It does. But they're all so they are all fancy artwork. So there is maybe a way of just like the cube has the cheapest lightning bolt.
Right, okay.
You do it. Yeah, how you do it is you look up if there's any bolt worth more than like £4, and then that's those are the fancy ones.
Or you could go, BYOB. You have to bring your own bolts if you're drafting that card.
I like that. Yeah. But yeah. It seems like a cool one. I'm really tempted to give it a go.
Nice. All right, moving on to our first green card of the day. We have Go Forth. This is a single green mana for an instant. At common, it says choose one. Insert your library for a basic land card, reveal it and put it into your hand, then shuffle. Or target creature gets +2/+2 until end of turn. This card's okay. The sort of modal lay of the land cards have always been fairly solid. You put it in your sort of base green deck, maybe you're splashing a couple of colors, it helps you with the fixing earlier, and then at least when you draw it late, it's not dead, and this probably replaced the land in your deck. So that's okay. You want to be careful when running these. You basically you want them in sort of your very heavy green deck, for which is splashing some other colors, because then you can in good conscience just cut a basic for this. Right? Like say your mana base really wants to have like 10 green sources, and then you can perfectly happily cut one of the like 2 islands you were going to play and put this in instead, and that's okay.
Yeah, we are not splashing our fixing.
Exactly. The sort of other mode of this for +2/+2, I feel like is slightly discordant with the decks that want to play the lay of the land stuff for their fixing, just because it sort of pushes a more aggressive deck. Like, obviously it's still fine, but I wonder if this is better than something like Bushwhack, which was actually reprinted in this set, which is basically the same card, but it's sorcery, and the other mode is a fight spell rather than a +2/+2. And I feel like having the removal might be just a little bit better of an effect to go with this, because your pump spells tend to go in slightly more aggressive decks, right? But I don't think this is a bad card by any means. I think if you put it in your cube, it'll be solid and people will play it.
No, I'd agree. Yeah. I think Bushwhack has kind of shown that there is room for this kind of card, just like a single green for an effect that kind of can help with your fixing if you are doing the splash. Or like this might just be me, but I want to run more combat tricks in cube. I like the gameplay. I like the because there's just none that see play, basically. Like, it's very rare you see any combat tricks. So when people just don't like, it's something that kind of like in like pre-release you are thinking about like what combat tricks they could have. Like, that doesn't happen in cube nowadays. Like when was the last time you sat down to a powered cube and was like, do they have giant growth? So like there is an element of like you can, and there I understand there is a reason why that is a thing, but just like the fact that ability is also on this card, so you can affect combat in a meaningful way, while also on your opponent's end step, if they haven't done anything, or if you have the spare mana, you can go get that land and fix you next turn. That is quite cool flexibility, and I do kind of like that. Like there could be a world where this is for larger cubes, where this is for like 540, 720 cubes that maybe already have Bushwhack and are looking for a second copy. I'm also open to that, just being where it finds place. But yeah, I like this card. I think it's cool.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's very solid.
Yeah, and also importantly, a common as well. So you can see a lot of play.
Yeah, for sure. I do agree with you about combat tricks. I think the thing that pushes them out of cube a lot of the time, right, is just because the removal tends to be very, very efficient.
It's so, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's just kind of tough finding your, it just feels like you can't cast them when your opponent has any mana open, right? Whereas in draft, where combat tricks tend to shine a lot more, you know which removal spells are in the sets, especially at common, and you know how much mana they cost, and you can think about, well, they have 2 mana open, but this is the options of the available removal spells they could have. Whereas in a 540 card singleton cube, you can't really make that deduction, and there's just a higher density of fatal push type effects that do really punish those cards. Yeah, I think it almost feels like to be running combat tricks in cube, you need like cards that specifically synergize with tricks, like heroic stuff, rather than just rolling the tricks in as good cards.
I get you, yeah. Or like a Feather the Redeemed style of card that gives you or kind of can let you replay them over multiple turns, going to give you like additional value from just like these one-time effects, basically.
Yeah, for sure.
Nice. All right. I have high hopes for our next card, James. Let's talk about Scythecat Cub. This is a 1 green for a 2/2 creature cat. It has trample and landfall. Whenever a land you control enters, put a +1 counter on target creature you control. If this is the second time this ability has resolved this turn, double the number of +1 counters on that creature instead. So I think this card is great. We have basically already seen this effect this year on Bristly Bill. And as we all know, if you listen to this podcast, Bristly Bill I think Bristly Bill is a card we both like. I will probably bleep that. But yeah. And this is another version of that effect that's very similar. So landfall, yes, I think they're similar. So landfall, put a counter on a creature that's all in a 2-drop. I think that's pretty solid. This, I think, is actually a better self-contained beta than Bristly Bill. This has trample. This itself can get big. Play this and then play it and like a fetch next turn. This is a 4/4 trample. Like, that's scary. Like, the abilities that the two have are different. Like, this doubles the counter on 1 creature if you play 2 lands, whereas Bristly Bill is pay 5 mana to put counters on all the creatures you control. So I think if you only wanted one of these effects in your cube, I think it's basically going to be, are you going tall with your counters, maybe in Gruul? Then I think it's this one. Bristly Bill is more for the go wide counters, probably in Selesnya. But being honest, for the foreseeable future, I will probably be running both of these cards because I have been very impressed with Bristly Bill. Like, it's kind of weird that we have such a similar version of it printed in the same year. And annoyingly, this is a Jumpstart card, so it's currently really expensive. This is like pre-ordering like 25 quid, James, which sucks. So,
oh, that's obnoxious.
So I will be proxying this, obviously, until the inevitable reprint in like a Modern Horizon set or something like that. But yeah, I love Scythecat Cub. I think it's the most slam dunky of tests in my from this set for me, and that is because it is effectively another version of a card I already really like.
Nice. Yeah, no, I think this card's really strong. I was thinking about whether I think this or Bristly Bill is stronger. I think it's extremely close. Because the doubling the counters thing on the second landfall triggers, if you do go tall, is really explosive, right? Like, say you go like turn 3, you play this into land, then you go fetch land the next turn, then it's like you're going 1 count, 2 counter, and then the second one doubles it up to it, and now it's a 6/6, and that's really cool. I think probably just that activated 5 mana ability is really strong. It's maybe tiny bit stronger just because
it's more consistent, I think.
Exactly. And I do find you tend to spread the counters around just because I don't want to put all the counters on 1 creature and then have them kill it. And the 5 mana ability also, like, it's an instant, right? So there's a bit of threat of activation there. But yeah, having said that, I think it's as I said, I think it's really close, and the trample really matters. And Bristly Bill is already a really strong card, and I think a second version of it is a very, very good inclusion in a lot of cubes. And plus another cool card that does very powerful things with Nardu if you're into that.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
The episode of a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I think that really strong card to include all around.
Yeah, love it. Yeah. Probably my favorite card from this set. I've thrown you another bit of a curveball, James. What do you think of Renan 1, another lovely playtest card?
Yeah, I have no idea, Dan, basically. It's completely mad.
Love it.
I'll talk about it a bit anyway, because we're doing a podcast, and that's what we do. So this is one of the wilder playtest cards, I think. This is Renan 1. It is a land planeswalker Ren. So it is a planeswalker that you just play using your land drop for the turn. It has 1 starting loyalty. Has +1, Renan 1 gains tap to add a green until your next turn. So you can make it into a forest.
That's right.
Turn. Yeah. You can -1 it to make a 1/1 green squirrel. Or you can -4 it to get an emblem with, at the beginning of your pre-combat main phase, add a green for each creature you control. So you kind of get like a Guy's Cradle. It's a really funny card. I think there will be games where if you play it on turn 1, it's really, really strong, because you're going to use it for mana like the first few turns, right? And but then basically whenever you have a spare mana, you just -1 and get a squirrel. And you'll have some loyalty because you plussed it the first few turns. Or if you go plus, and then because you need the mana, and then you have the 4 loyalty to use, then you kind of make a Guy's Cradle, and that's kind of sick. It could also be a huge liability, though, right?
Yep. Yeah.
Like,
imagine it's a land that can be attacked.
Exactly. Just imagine you're on the draw.
Yeah.
Like, if you're on the draw and they play a 1-mana creature, you really don't feel very good about playing this, do you? I mean, you basically can't play it. So you hope you have some of the lands, I guess. So that's kind of sketchy. And like, if you need to play this early and you're behind, it's going to be really bad. There's a reason Magic is not designed in such a way where they can attack and kill your lands with their creatures. So I'll say that.
Yes, I would agree with that part. Yeah.
I don't know, maybe the correct way to play this is like you board it out on the draw or something, or you just board it out against aggressive decks with a lot of cheap creatures. If you're against like a control deck or a combo deck, this is kind of a free roll, I guess. A lot of them they could like bolt it. I mean, the things that kill planeswalkers specifically are all kind of expensive, but yeah, like obviously having this just hit by a burn spell is kind of rough as well. Is it good? I don't know. Maybe. Should you put it in your cube? It's a different question. I think that's a vibes question. That's more of a, are you in for some goofy, wacky cards in your cube? If so, and you have access to one of these or Domain Proxy, then I think crack on. It looks really fun.
Yeah, I agree that this one's harder to kind of evaluate just because we've not really seen anything like it before. I think just a little rules thing. So because it's a planeswalker, unlike the Goblin land we saw earlier, this can tap for mana the turn you play it, because some planeswalkers don't have summoning sickness when they're planeswalkers. So you can plus this and tap it straight away, so you're not down mana, you're not waiting on anything, you can do it straight away. I mean, you can minus it straight away if you want a creature, but then you'll lose your Renan 1. There could be a world where kind of like if you're doing stuff where you're playing lands from graveyard, stuff with like Crucible of Worlds, this might get a bit better because you can kind of keep looping it. That's kind of interesting. Why I think I added this to this is, all right, I might have gone down a bit of a rabbit hole with this lot, James, is that, again, for the Delirium deck, is that, so you don't get, like, Land Planeswalker has obviously never existed, and the creature lands we've seen a little bit, and they have been just really powerful cards in that stuff in graveyard type of deck. And Planeswalkers is generally like one of the least played card types in Cube. I mean, like obviously like Battle, but like Like a cube will have maybe like 10, 15 planeswalkers, and like the deck will maybe have like at most one or two. So just having more keywords is nice. I would agree that, yeah, maybe I am just shoehorning these cards in, and I should just put this in my commander decks. But it is a very unique card, and like I don't think this card is like ridiculously busted, but I think it's probably going to end up being pretty good. Would be my gut.
The more I look at it, I do think it's quite strong. I think there are going to be games where this feels like pretty snowbally, actually. And like, 'cause it's such a free roll when it in the right matchup, right, where they're not punishing you for this is going to feel really strong, I think.
Yeah, 100%. I agree. Yeah, I know. Like this might be one we report back on at a later date, but yeah, I think it's a cool card, and I like one thing with like these actual playtest cards. So like the arena ones are all like £100, like the Torf's Disciple. They're like 100 plus quid. These playtest cards are like, I think like less than a fiver, and that's only because they're like people have only just got them. Give it like 6 months, these cards will be quite cheap, I think. So, nice. or these cards will all get reprinted at there's going to be a lot of Mystery Booster 2 is going to be opened a lot more over the coming years, in the same way Mystery Booster 1 was. Like there will be a home release of these as well, and these cards will come down to be like 50p. So yeah, when they are there, I think test them if you like them, because yeah, they're cool.
Nice.
All right, let's move on to gold. First up, we have Kaikar Zephyr Awakener. This is 2 white and a blue for a 3/4 legendary creature, Bird Wizard. It has flying, and whenever you cast a non-creature spell, choose one. You can either exile target creature you control and return that card to the battlefield under its owner's control at the beginning of the next end step, or you can create a 1/1 white spirit creature token with flying. So this does feel more like a one for Commander, but I do think this is a cool card. And a lot more budget and lower power level cubes, like things like Flicker and flying synergies, are things that generally you see Azorius doing. And this kind of does both of those, which is quite nice. Like, you do need to be casting spells, which isn't something like an Azorius deck tends to struggle to do. Like, you have the cantrips in blue, you have the interaction in white. You will just be casting spells. That on top of if you're not casting spells, it's a 3/4 flyer, which is kind of all right as a body. But the fact that you get the flexibility to abuse ETB effects or make a flying attacker if you don't have another good creature, I think it's pretty solid. Like this is not one for every cube, but again, if you're supporting Flicker or you're supporting flying in your lower power level cubes, I think this is a very decent role player that can. Those abilities are both powerful and are both solid, and yeah, I think on this body, it's a very fine card.
Yeah, for sure. I think not quite efficient enough for very high power level cubes, but for that mid power level, I think a perfectly fine inclusion. And the one thing to be aware of for Flicker decks specifically is that sometimes in those decks you do end up quite creature heavy, just because like your cantrips are like, I'm playing a Spirited Companion instead of Preordained or whatever, but it's, you're in blue white. I think if you're paying attention to it, you can manage to have enough spells, and it's nice that it's non-creature spell as well. A lot of those cards you see being instant or sorcery, so this will trigger off your artifacts and enchantments as well. Yeah, perfectly solid. It's just the thing, right? Of on turn 4, you a lot of the time when you play this, you're not getting value until your next turn. So they do just have a turn cycle to remove it, but we can't cut off cards that die to removal, and I think for like mid power level, that's a totally fine card. Worth noting as well, it is another target creature you flicker, so you can't protect it by casting instants. But yes, it can protect other creatures by casting instants, which is nice.
Love it. All right, we have another Azorius card, James, and this was.
It literally says his name on the card. You just have to read it backwards.
Finkel. Okay. And thank you. All right. And this was John Finkel's card. James, what do you think of Wrath of Leknif?
So this is Wrath of Leknif. We talked about this again when we did the Cube, the Vintage Cube Live review, because I played it in that cube. So I'll just do a very quick review of it again now. So there's Wrath of Leknif, John Finkel's designed card. It's 1 white, blue for sorcery. Destroy all creatures. They can't be regenerated. Untap up to 4 lands you control. This card is busted. This is, I think, significantly stronger than the Kai designed card. This is in a control deck. Obviously, it only goes in one deck, blue-white control, but this is going to be insane. The turn you can wrath the board, untap your 4 lands, and cast your Jason Mind Sculptor on turn 4. That's kind of insane. Or wrath and have a counter spell up. This turns the corner all on its own. It's a really powerful card. Honestly, maybe too good for some cubes.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Obviously, for like powered cube, it's hard to say things are too good because you'll literally have Black Lotus in your cube. But this is an incredibly pushed Magic card. And I very much understand why when John Finkel submitted this, they said absolutely not, find something else.
No, 100%. But I think in those higher powered cubes, if your control decks haven't been putting up numbers recently, this seems like a pretty nice valve to just, I don't know, cut one of the Teferis and give this a go. I think that's pretty, well, no, actually, you probably want this with the Teferis, to be honest with you, but I don't know, maybe cut something else and put this in and just it will give your control decks a hell of a boost. And very broken Magic card. Love it. All right. Next up, we're moving on to Rakdos. Next up, we have Alicia, who laughs at fate. It is 1 black and a red for a 2/2 legendary creature human warrior with first strike, and whenever it attacks, put a +1 on counter on it. It also has raid. At the beginning of your end step, if you attack this turn, return target creature card with mana value less than or equal to Alicia's power from your graveyard to the battlefield. This is an interesting card. I do like the fact that it's self-contained. Like, base level, it's a 3/3 first strike on this first attack that just keeps getting bigger. And then it's very hard. That first strike means it's very hard to trade off within combat. Like, if you play this on curve, without a removal spell, this is going to be really hard to deal with. And like after a couple of turns, it even gets out of like burn range, which is quite strong. And then even if you play it later and attack with something else, you can get back a 2-drop, which is just some nice value for just 3 mana. I don't just want to say like Aristocrats again. And I think this is a very good Rakdos card that goes in most things that those colors are doing in Cube. I think it'll be strongest in Aristocrats, where Rakdos tends to be built more aggressive anyway. So so I think it will be very, very strong there. But just the fact that it's a self-contained threat that will grow and give you value over the course of the game, it's just going to be a really solid card. Like most Rakdos decks generally in Cube, I think would be fine with it. And that I'm not holding this against it, but it could be just a little generic. Is that could be a bit harsh? Like it's kind of like Assassin's Trophy in Golgari. It doesn't really push me into like a deck per se. It just kind of like rewards me for what the colors are naturally doing. But like, I mean, like if your Rakdos section just cares about attacking and has a bunch of small creatures, then give us a test. I think this is going to be very solid.
Yeah, I like this card. I think it's cool. Alicia, I guess, has now finished laughing at, smiling at death and moved on to laughing at fate. And I think it's an upgrade for her, actually.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a good look. It's a good look.
Yeah. So I've quite liked in Powered Cubes recently the Rakdos interactive deck with a bunch of cheap creatures. I think it plays out really well. Partly because they've just printed a bunch of really good cheap Rakdos creatures recently. But, got your Emperor of Bones, your Deep Cavern Bats, your Orcish Bowmasters, your Inties. And I really want a bunch of those 2-mana creatures because I want to get something back for turn I play this as often as possible. Because just playing this and saying go is fine. You might get to attack and get something back next turn, but you are giving your opponent a whole turn to kill a very killable creature, and they'll probably come out ahead from that exchange in terms of mana. But if you can just swing with a creature, they trade for it in combat, or they killed a creature early, then you play this and get a creature back right away, that seems really powerful. Because then it's like they have to kill this threat, but the 2-drops are all really threatening those colors, so you probably have to kill the thing you got back as well. And now you're miles ahead on the exchange. Plus, in Rakdos, a decent chunk of the cheaper creatures also give you a bit of looting or some sacrifice stuff, so you might be proactively getting stuff into your graveyard. Thinking like Inti, it's like Fable, rummages you, like you can sack stuff to guts. There's a lot of ways you could sort of be proactively putting stuff in your yard to then get value off this right away. And if they don't kill it, this just snowballs really well, right? Because even just first attack, it attacks a 3/3 first strike. That's pretty tough to block. It's only getting bigger from there. Then you can start getting back free drops and even bigger stuff later. I think the overall package is pretty strong here. And I don't know, maybe it will end up being too narrow because obviously you have to have that density of cheap creatures. But I'm considering this for my powered cube, actually.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. No, nice. It does seem like a strong card. Like I have this written down, and I know it's not true. It's Lurrus-esque, basically. It is not Lurrus because the companion on that is busted. But in play, it will sort of feel similar, if that makes sense.
Yes, I think so. I think it's slightly more aggressively slanted, right? In that, you need to attack, but also this gets you ahead on mana in a way that Lurrus doesn't, right? Lurrus, you still have to pay mana to replay your cards. This is, if you play this and get a 2-back drop back, you got 5 mana worth of threat into play for 3 mana. So I think it has quite a lot of sort of snowball potential.
Yeah, nice, cool. Yeah, maybe I'll sleeve up Alessia. Let's go. All right, we have the trickiest color pair in all of Cube next, James. What do you think of Anthem of Champions?
Yeah, so Anthem of Champions is a Selesnya, so a green mana and a white mana for an enchantment, and it says creatures you control get +1/+1. It's so nice having magic cards with just like this the thing they do. I'm so used to these cards having like another paragraph of text that doesn't matter to anyone.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Look at all that like great flavor text. This is a 2-mana Anthem. Anthems don't normally cost 2 mana. That's really cool. Having said that, it's it doesn't do anything on its own. You need to have a good board state for this to matter. I think this is one I'm chucking in just by sort of power cube, which doesn't have a strong Selesnya go wide theme going on. But I think if you are doing like a green-white tokens thing in your cube, I think this is probably a pretty strong inclusion. But yeah, if you're not that focused, this is just going to lose out to the cards that are threatening and buff your creatures, but are also threatening with themselves, right? Like, for example, in my cube, I've got Arwen from Lord of the Rings in the Selesnya Assault, which is can be splashed into a variety of decks, just requires you to have some creatures that you want to protect. It doesn't require you to have like a big wide board of creatures before it's good.
No, I think that's fair. Yeah. Like, as I was kind of alluding to, like, Selesnya is just a very hard color to kind of work out what it wants to do. And like this is very efficient and very cheap. Like, and nowadays in Cube, white and green tend to have the most 1 and 2 drops. Now that the power level in red has kind of moved to more like the 3-drop type slot. So I don't know if like go white tokens is where Selesnya wants to be nowadays, but it could work there. I think as well, like, I mean, a while ago I did try like Selesnya 2 mana for 3 power in Cube, and that wasn't that bad. Like, effectively, like, you're running every Watchwolf variant in white and green. And then that makes your 2 mana 3/3s into 2 mana 4/4s. That will kill people. That's all right. Yeah. As I kind of alluded, like it's tricky knowing what to do with Selesnya. Like, it's still hard. Like, I'm doing a counters thing right now. This doesn't work with that. But yeah. If going wide with creatures is where you've gone with Selesnya, because there is a lot of support in the color pair for that, then I think this is a solid option there and a solid signpost card to do it, because it's a guaranteed 2 mana Anthem to all of your creatures. It's not just tokens, as we've seen for this mana value before. Like, I think it's a solid card. You'll know if you want it, basically.
Yeah, for sure. Also, just a note on this card: the goal is not generally going to be to play this on turn 2. You more want to like build out a board, and on turn 4 you play this plus another 2-drop. But that mana efficiency does still matter, because it just lets you multi-spell really well.
Yeah, definitely. All right, we're going up in the mana value next. We're moving on to Simic. Next, we have Coma World Eater. This is 3 green, green, blue, blue for an 8/12 legendary creature Serpent. It has this spell can't be countered. It has Trample. It has Ward 4, and it has whenever Coma deals combat damage to a player, create 4 3/3 blue Serpent creature tokens named Coma's Coil. So this is incredibly big. It does have a lot going for it, but it does also have some issues. So it's very beefy. It has Trample, and the Ward 4 is some decent protection. The flip side is if you're just casting this, your opponents will still pay 5 mana to Swords to Plowshares this late in the game, or pay 6 mana to Doomblade it, because it's later in the game. You will have the option to do that. I think, however, if you connect with it, like if you deal combat damage with it and you make those 4 3/3 tokens, you're probably just winning that game. Like, they've already taken a large amount of damage from Coma, and then next turn, they still have to deal with Coma and the 12 power you just put on the board. This will have an issue of getting into higher powered cubes, because it doesn't... this is going to sound weird, but it doesn't have... like, it not being an ETB on a big creature like this is massive, because cards that go in the Flash deck have become way more important in Cube nowadays. And there's so many other options out there that are big and scary and give you the value straight away. They don't have to untap and connect. They don't have to deal combat damage to get the ability. Like cards like Voltborn Tyrant exist. Cards like Atali Primal Conqueror exist. Cards like Torsten, Founder of Benalia exist. These are the big dumb threats that work in like your sneak attack deck, in your show and tell deck, but also work in the Flash deck. And that's generally where we've moved to with these big threats. In lower powered cubes, however, where you still want to run cards like Sneak Attack and Show and Tell and Through the Breach, but you don't want to run things like Blightstilled Colossus or Archon of Cruelty or the other ones I've mentioned. Basically, you're not running big creatures that win you game on the spot, but you still want to have that package. I think that this is where this could shine. This could be quite cool there. Like this with a Sneak Attack is still very strong and is a good reward for that, but it's not as like it doesn't end the game as literally as Blightstilled Colossus, basically. I think that it could be a cool addition, and that's kind of where I see it. Kind of like your mid power level cubes where you're wanting to push the kind of like the Reanimator a little bit. You're trying to push Sneak Attack a little bit or Show and Tell, but you still want gameplay afterwards. Basically, like the game doesn't end when they do the thing. There's still some gameplay afterwards. I think that's where Coma will be the most fun. I
totally agree. I think that's exactly where I see it, and I think that is a reasonable thing to do with that archetype, right? Like, you know, you can go about it by saying, Sneak Attack's too powerful, or Animate Dead is too powerful. Or you can say, those cards are cool. What if we just don't have Archon of Cruelty, you know? And yeah, this gives a little more interaction, right? But Ward 4 I think is like a nice spot to be in for that, because it's very hard to kill it. You've got to have left up a bunch of mana if they're sneak attacking, but it is possible, right? It's not like Ward 8 where it's basically hexproof. It's punishing, but if they're like playing around it and thinking about it, I know it's really late into the game, then they do have an opportunity to interact with this with removal. And when they do it, you know, it's not like it has an ETB; it has to actually connect with the player. So that will be a strong answer. Cool card.
Like it. All right, you have our last playtest card of the day, James. What do you think of this one? This one, pretty potentially very good.
Oh, potentially. I think it's busted. Yeah. So final playtest card is Mox Poison. This is 0 mana, as all good Moxen are, for an artifact. It taps to add 1 mana of any color, and you get 2 poison counters. Poison counters obviously being the infect mechanic. If you have 10 poison counters, you lose the game. Yeah, this card's busted. Most cubes don't have any infects, so this is basically a Mox that you can use 4 times. That's still cracked. Lotus Petal is already a pretty strong card in many cubes. You can use that once. In an aggro deck, if you have this, you can play a 2-drop on turn 1, a 3-drop on turn 2, a 4-drop on turn 3. It doesn't matter that you can only tap it one more time. You know, that has got you so far ahead that you're fine. That it goes away after that, essentially. And it's fixing, right? It's any color. yeah, this card's cracked. Like, to use your cube as an example, Dan, which is like a powerful threat, but not powered cube. Like, I think this would be the best first pick in your cube by a decent amount if you put it in.
Yeah, I'd agree.
Yeah. You can put it in a powered cube if you want. It'll be very good. Mox that taps for any color is pretty cracked. I think it's actually an interesting question. If you're in, would some decks prefer this over an off-color Mox?
Yeah, any like the aggro decks where effectively like they just want the mana as early as possible.
Yeah.
This is better than a green Mox in a Boros aggro deck. I would say.
I think so. And if you, even if you're playing more colors than you care about the fixing, right? This card's absurd.
Yeah, I think it's nice. The other nice thing is it's currently around $7, James. So that's nice. It's worth mentioning just with that cheapness is that like we are talking about this in James is completely right. This is going in like if you were going to run this, it would be in cubes where you're already running Mox. If you run this in a cube just because it's I can have a Mox in my budget cube, like this is effectively like Soul Ring. These are pack one pick onesables that are so much of a power outlier compared to everything else in the cube. They will warp the format. So that's a little warning. Like just because this card is cheap, don't put it in your budget cube. Yeah, like there is a world where like people where if you are running a paper cube that is just running the most powerful cards, this probably gets in. Actually, no. From a power level point of view, I think it gets in. The conversation is more if you want playtest cards in there. That's the only conversation, I think.
Yeah. If you want playtest cards and if you want something at this power level.
Yeah. Very strong card. I think it's nuts. Yeah. It's going to be a better Mox for the vast majority of the game, and then you'll just stop using it and you've still got 4 mana out of it for free. Like that's wildly powerful.
Yeah, I think it's like there are decks where obviously we're splitting hairs, it's busted either way. Like in a control deck, it's maybe slightly worse, right, than a regular Mox, because you want to keep using your mana a lot later into the game, and this only works 4 times. But yes, we're splitting hairs. The card's cracked.
No, exactly. But yeah, and even in those scenarios, like in the slow decks, it could still be like this still does like all of the artifact synergies that something like that a regular Mox does. Like you can find it off of a Urza's Saga. It'll count towards your Tolarian Academy. It will make your constructs bigger. Like even if it gets to 4, even if you've got 4 mana out of it, it's still an artifact that's sitting in play for free. That will still be like sack it to your Tinker. I don't know. But very strong card. All right, let's go to a bit more of a normal power level now. Let's talk about Scrawling Crawler. It is 3 generic mana for a 3/2 artifact creature Phyrexian construct. It has at the beginning of your upkeep, each player draws a card, and whenever an opponent draws a card, that player loses 1 life. What's nice about this is that, yes, you and your opponent are both drawing cards at the same time, but because it's on your upkeep, you will always get to use the card first. So yes, it's symmetrical, but you will always get access to that card first. That is solid. In terms of why you would want to run this, I see this as basically a card for the Wheels deck, the deck where you're casting a draw 7 and you either have cards that stop your opponents from drawing cards, things like Hull Breacher, or cards that deal damage when they draw cards. So things like this, or like Shieldred. And why I'm mentioning this is I hate Shieldred. It's just oppressive and miserable, and I like the Wheels deck, but hate Shieldred, so I cut Shieldred from my cube. I'm currently running Razorkin Needlehead, which has the same damage trigger, but is double red, and this tends to be like a 3-ish color deck. So that's been a bit tricky to make work. This is colorless. This lets you have that little bit of, gives you that cool thing of like, I cast a wheel, I deal you 7 damage. That is something I want those decks to have, just not in the Shieldred 4 mana, 4/5, 14-point life swing body that kind of cracks my cube open. So yeah, like this is not getting near high power level cubes. This is for cubes who are trying to do something cool with the Wheels deck, but want to kind of balance the power level of the deck a little bit, basically.
Yeah, nice. That totally makes sense. It's also kind of nice that if you draw this plus one of your other
Punishers,
then it does something right because it's making them draw an additional card.
This with like a card like Razorkin Needlehead is still very strong. Yeah, that's good. Yeah,
it's still something. Yes,
it is a thing. Yes, okay, strong money, but like I guess It is an engine for that as well. I guess yes.
Yeah,
it is the Nekasar thing.
Yes. Yes. The concern I always have with the sort of powered down wheels thing is of the powered down Punishers is that I feel like the deck is probably not doing a ton of other damage, so they can take 7 and be okay with it some of the time. Like it feels like you almost need to cast multiple wheels in a turn, which can be kind of difficult. But unless you have like Lion's Eye Diamond and stuff, I guess. But yeah, I mean, this card does some interesting things. It's also an artifact. You might care about that. It just keeps your card flow going. I guess if you have a lot of mana in your deck, maybe the extra cards are better for you. You can use them. You can sort of deploy them more quickly than your opponent can. It is also just like 3 mana and very easy to kill, though. And I would say the effect is like just not that punishing. I guess the other spot you could theoretically put this in is just in an actual aggressive deck because it's
it is an on-rate body that just pings them every turn.
Yeah, it deals damage from every turn. This isn't an additional card. It's when they draw any card. It counts their draw step.
Yeah.
Punishes them just casting their card draw spells. If you're an aggressive deck, you have a low curve, maybe the extra cards are better for you. But it is still just like a 3 mana, very easy to kill creature that doesn't have a very aggressive body. So I'm a little bit skeptical, but maybe there's something there.
No, that's fair. And I can see a world where because I'm looking for something to bridge that gap between Shieldred and not Shieldred. I might be higher on these guys than I should be. There could be a world where I should just ignore all this and just focus on like the Leovolds that just go purely down the restricting them from drawing cards.
Yeah, I kind of like Neovold and Narset, I think, are both quite good. Because they're also they're powerful when you combine them with a wheel, but they require some setup, right? Like Leovold is 3 colors, Narset is a planeswalker that doesn't impact the board and they can attack.
Yeah.
I feel like to me they are the ones that are good with wheels and aren't the Orcish Bowmaster's Shieldred thing.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. Yeah, because there's also like I guess Notion Thief and Hull Breacher. Maybe that's the way I.
Yeah, Notion Thief is cool. Hull Breacher, I think, is kind of cracked. It's
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
No, fair. Yeah. That's probably a conversation for another time because we have spoken about the wheels deck before, but yeah, that was the full-fledged thing. I guess maybe a way of powering it down might be something for the future, but hey ho.
Yeah, sure.
James, last card of the day. You want to take it away with a big Eldrazi?
Sure do. Last up, we have Sire of 7 Deaths. This is 7 generic mana for a 7/7 creature Eldrazi. And it has some keywords. It has First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Trample, Reach, Lifelink, and Ward, pay 7 life. This is obviously a powerful card.
It's big.
It sure is. I think in a lot of cubes, I want more for 7 mana. In fact, haste is not one of the keywords. Hexproof is not one of the keywords. Yeah. Like, sure, it's pay 7. Ward pay 7 life is a very real thing, but it's also I can't imagine the deck you put this in is very aggressive because it costs 7 mana. So
yeah,
they possibly can just pay 7 life and be okay with that. Obviously, if it lives, it's huge. It's going to be hard for them to win in combat with this in play, certainly. First Strike, Vigilance, Menace, Lifelink, Reach. They're not killing you in combat, and it's going to kill them pretty quickly. But yeah, 7's a lot of mana. I think we probably need to do better than this. I guess you could channel it out on turn 1 if you really on turn 2 if you really wanted to, and then it even gets you the life back next turn when you attack. But yeah, I'm a bit skeptical.
I am too. So one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this card is because this is one of the chase cards in the set. I'm like, this is one of the more expensive cards, and maybe it's standard or something, but I think I'm missing it. In Cube, this is an example of a card that kind of like has come out and is powerful and is talked about in the current standard or the current set meta. But like, we can go back and we can pick cards like I was comparing this directly to like a card like Phyrexian Fleshgorger, which at its top end is not as good as this card. Phyrexian Fleshgorger is 7 mana for a 7/5 with Menace and Lifelink and Ward, pay life equal to its power, so it has the Ward 7. But like, it has the evasion and it has the Lifelink, that's the important part. But the Fleshgorger is also an artifact, so it goes in all of your artifact-based decks, and it also has the prototype, so you can cast it for 1, so you can cast it for 3 mana. So it will do something earlier in the game if you need it to. This is in the weird slot of like there are sort of room for big mana beaters, but 7 is not that slot. It's kind of like we can ramp to like 5 and 6, I think. 7 is a step beyond. Once we get to 7, I'm cheating something into play. And when you're cheating something into play, I want an ETB. I want a cool effect. I want something more than just like, here is a lump of stats and like combat damage. Because if I'm cheating something to play, like if I was going to cheat in the Eldrazi, again, we have, 3 Emrakuls now? 3 Kozileks, 3 Ulamogs, that kind of thing. Like, yeah, I think that this one will struggle to see playing Cube just because we have a lot of better options out there, I think.
Yeah. Or even if you want to be trying to ramp to 7, right? Like, it's got to do more than just be a big scary body, you know? It's got...
Yeah.
You know, even like a Mere Battlesphere or something. Like, even if you gave this haste, right, it would be something. But yeah, the fact that you could just cast this and then they untap and Doomblade it, like, that's not an acceptable deal for 7 mana. Like, you put a lot of work into being able to cast a second 7-drop. That's not just a card you put into your deck. You have to ramp to it. That's really kind of what your deck is doing. And when they just point a removal spell at your payoff and it goes away is not really something you can be okay with.
No, exactly. And I want to add this, and also so let us know if you're watching this on YouTube. Let us know down in the comments. Otherwise, find us. Otherwise, you can comment on our socials. Let me know, why is this card expensive? I feel like I'm missing something. It's like, am I wrong? No, it's the kids who are wrong. I don't understand why this is such an expensive Magic card.
Maybe people are playing Soulflare again in Modern, you know?
Oh, maybe. But the fact you could have this or Scythe Cat Cub, it's kind of annoying because I actually want the Scythe Cat Cub. That should not be the same price as this card, and neither of them should be expensive. But hey ho, that is a ramble for another time. All right, and that's going to do it for our set review. James, thank you. That was awesome. Pleasure as always.
Yeah, always good.
Nice one. As I mentioned at the start, an unexpected set review from my end, but a good one nonetheless. And yeah, I'm glad we were able to get in those Mystery Booster 2 cards because there is some spice there. I think there's going to be some cool tests definitely coming out of these 2 sets. I want to know people who are running. I want to hear from people who are running cards like Oracle of the Alpha or Torov's Disciple. I want to know how people have made that work. Again, our socials will be down in the description below. You can find me on Blue Sky. Links will be down in the description below. If you want to drop me a message, or again, if you're watching the YouTube version, do comment. Let us know what cards you're thinking of testing. Helps out the algorithm. All that good stuff.
Yeah, for sure. Send us pictures of your piles of lightning bolts for the Conjure guy.
I want to see that. I want to see how many people are rocking. That'd be awesome. And just as a final reminder, also our end of year spectacular, the MTGs needs your help. Fill in the survey. Let us know what you thought were the most impactful things from this year. Greatly appreciated. Love you all. Thank you very much. But yeah, anyway, let's end the episode. Thank you all very much for listening. It's goodbye from me and it's goodbye from James. Until next time, we'll see you all soon. Goodbye.